switch off the fans.
I would do that.
Test. Good.
Okay. Good.
So we can start? Cool. Okay, I guess you can already see that the session is for daredevils, and there is no way to escape. I'm used to have multiple tracks at the SAP Inside Track, and unfortunately there is only one track, so you cannot escape. Huh?
Right.
We do have those handcuffs and blindfolds also here. We might look for volunteers as well. Please keep in mind that we go. Huh? What is this about? First, let's start with an introduction. Who are we? So, this is Somalia.
Hello.
HANA developer, Fiori developer, CEI developer nowadays. Me, Bart van der Kamp, development lead, innovation lead. We came all the way from the Netherlands to Berlin. Why, you might imagine? Well, actually, we have been to TechEd last October in Barcelona, and it became really clear that the co-pilot is a big thing, and it's the new user experience within SAP. So we said, okay, let's hire an intern and research this technology. And along the way, we came to know that co-pilot changed. Actually, SAP took over this recast.ai, which is an intelligent bot building platform to build, train, deploy, and monitor bots. And then in 2019, basically, it was rebranded to conversational AI. So there was a lot of things going on. So that's one of the reasons that we said we need to hire an intern. And we are also trying to bring this innovation to our clients. So currently, we are working with one of our clients to bring this innovation. We have implemented S4HANA. They have a SAP Cloud platform fully up and running. At the moment, it's not ready, so we cannot demo this. But we have something else which we can demo. It's not related to any client or industry, but something you can really experience the conversational AI technology. This was our intern. He worked for 6 months, so also some credits to this guy. Huh? Because we could not show this for the real client, so we said, okay, let's create a kind of a fake company called Intelligent Enterprise AG. This company has an S4 system, definitely SAP Cloud Platform fully up and running, all the licenses in place. But also to mention, an S4 system is not really required. What is required is an SAP Cloud Platform, basically for all the innovation that you want to bring to your clients and customers. So just imagine two personas. There's the one guy, Ollie. We came to know that a lot of Olivers in Germany, so we called the guy Ollie. The guy is a fresher, he's a new joiner to the company, he needs to get up to speed quickly, working with S4, day-to-day work, he needs to get onboarded in the success factors, the HR processes. So to get this guy up to speed as quickly as possible, it makes sense to have a kind of a digital assistant to make sure that he is quickly onboarded and up to speed with all the processes in the systems. But then we have another guy called Karel. He's already for a long time with the company, he knows all the systems in and out and all the processes. But this company is changing to S4, so new systems, Fiori, etc. Right? So also this guy will benefit, and this guy is approving also purchase orders and doing many kind of management tasks. And these two personas will basically be represented by two volunteers. So we need someone who can take over Ollie's role. So the guy Ollie will basically create a purchase order with our chatbot. And there's one guy, Carl, and this person needs to approve or reject. Hopefully approve, because there are a lot of cool sessions to go. But that depends on Carl. So we need two volunteers.
Yes. Can we have some hands, please? Please, 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 please. We pray. Yeah, thank you. We have already our first, and one more. Yeah, please. Thank you. You want? Okay, great. You can sit in all this.
Closer to that age.
That's okay. You don't look that old.
Now we're famous.
Somalia?
Yeah.
You switch it on?
Thank you. Thank you. Please. And thanks a lot for volunteering. Okay, so we already asked for a little bit of extra time because we have to do an initial setup before we start the demo, connect to the internet and stuff.
I think one thing to mention as well is it's a guided procedure.
Yeah.
So we give a little bit more information. So for sure in the business situation that won't happen. But we just want to show that without any of our support, these two persons will be able to complete this process. Huh?
Internet.
And one thing to mention, we are not responsible, it's our chatbot. Yeah?
Yeah, so we didn't show it to you beforehand. Can you just switch on and off your hotspot in a moment?
It's on.
Just one more minute.
Und Alexa spricht Englisch oder?
Only English, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so before we begin, as Bart has already given a brief introduction of what's gonna happen, and I already saw a tweet over there, someone saying, okay, what to expect with this, okay? Just to give you an expectation that your wildest dreams are not coming true in this session. And don't judge us. The shopkeeper from whom we bought these already judged us. What we are going to do, we are going to lock you up in the handcuffs, and we're going to blindfold you, both of you, and you are going to create a purchase order to buy the handcuff keys. And if he approves, you get the keys, and you're free to attend the rest of the session. Otherwise, we don't know. So,
What's the name again? Carl.
Carl.
Okay, that way. Okay.
Also, one more thing is that, yeah, these are a bit of toy handcuffs, so I hope that your wrists fit here. Okay, so let's start with you first.
Well, I always wanted to do this.
Okay. Okay, blindfold?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Alexa, are you connected to the internet?
I am connected to the internet.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, can we? Okay. Ah. Okay. It's not painful, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, great.
So now let's go for barbecue.
Okay, blindfold. Okay, just one thing is that our bot is called ProgBot, and it is a young lady. So her model is a growing model. So sometimes due to pronunciation, you might have to go to the fallback, so you have to repeat again. But you can reset the full process anytime you want. And rest of the things she will guide you. You are only, first we start with the employee, and then we'll start with the manager, yeah? For the employee, Ollie, you have only two information given to you. The article code for handcuff keys is called AR45.
AR45.
Or AR46, okay, anyone. Thus we have made it a bit easy. And the supplier who supplies handcuff keys is called Super Keys. Yes? Okay?
Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to remember all of
Okay,
them.
don't worry, just remember Super Keys and
So
the
it was
rest.
AR45 or 46?
Yeah,
Which
that's the article code for this.
one? Okay.
Don't worry, she will guide you. You don't have to worry at all. Just remember Super Keys is the vendor who gives, who sells handcuffs. Yes? Ready, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then we start. Huh?
What was the name of the chatbot again?
It's ProgBot, but you don't need to say the name at all. Okay, you just need to converse with her.
Okay.
Okay, Alexa, start ProgBot. Oh, it's just
Alexa.
internet again. 1 minute. Alexa, start ProgBot.
Hi there. I am ProgBot, a conversational AI created to help with procurement activities. I am trained to create a purchase order, check its status, approve or reject POs. Please listen to the instructions carefully before giving an input. As an employee, you can start creating a purchase order simply by saying, I want to create a purchase order. If you want to know the status of your last purchase order, then you can ask, what is the status of my PO? As a manager, you can check how many POs you have pending by asking me how many POs do I have. At any point of the process, if you feel something is not right, then just say restart.
Okay. ProgBot, create a purchase order.
I will assist you in creating a purchase order. All you need to give me is the contract number and the item quantity. If you know the contract number for the PO, then just tell me the number, numerical inputs only. Example, 1023, 1056, etc. If you don't know the contract number, then just say no or I don't know.
I don't know.
No problem. I will find relevant contract for you based on the supplier name. Please choose the relevant option from the list of suppliers mentioned below. A. Super Keys. B, Dell. You can only choose one.
A.
I found the following contracts for the supplier, SuperKeys. Please note the relevant contract number for your article. This will be required as an input later. Contract number 1055 with article number AR45. Contract number 1056 with article number AR46. If you have the relevant contract number now, then please tell me the number. Numerical inputs only. For example, 1055, 1056, etc. Or, if you want to start over again, you can say that you want to create a purchase order.
Shut up.
Okay.
Repeat the contract number.
We all have our limits.
Let her speak first, then you speak.
Or if you want to start over again, just say restart.
Restart.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
If you are an employee, you can say, I want to create a purchase order. What is the status of your PO? If you are a manager, you can ask, how many POs do I have?
Maybe a guide.
I'm not going to say that word again. Create a purchase order for SuperKeys.
1 minute.
Contract number 1.
I will assist you in
Wait,
creating a
wait,
purchase order.
please wait.
All you need to give me is the contract number and the item quantity.
1055.
If you know the contract number for the PO, then just tell me the number. Numerical inputs only. Example,
Wait, let her finish.
1023,
Let her finish.
1056, etc. If you don't know the contract number, then just say no or I don't know.
1055.
Please let me know how many units of the article do you want for this purchase order. The quantity can be either anything between 0 to 10 or any multiple of 10 less than 100.
2.
Okay, let's recap. You have given me the following details for your purchase order. Contract number 1055, supplier name, SuperKeys, article number AR45, cost object WB102, item quantity 2. If you want to proceed with this data, then say go ahead. Otherwise, if you want to start over again, then say let's restart.
Go ahead.
Success. PO 43 has been created. Total cost of the PO is 700. After some time you can ask me the status by saying, what is the status of my PO?
Restart. For you now, as a manager.
If you are an employee, you can say, I want to create a purchase order, or ask, what is the status of my PO? If you are a manager, you can ask, how many POs do I have?
How many POs do I have?
There are 1 purchase orders pending for you. If you would like to know the details of the latest PO, then please say, which is my latest PO?
Which is my latest PO?
The details of the latest PO is as follows. PO number 43, contract number 1055, supplier name, SuperKeys, article number AR45, article quantity 2, total cost 700. This PO is within the budget of the cost object WB102. Please give your decision as I approve or I reject.
I approve.
Success. Purchase order 43 has been approved.
Okay, it seems to be a little bit overhead,
Exit.
but this was just to show in a guided procedure with no open questions,
Like that.
We all
etc.
have our
to complete this whole process, right? In a business scenario,
He
this would
approves,
not
so you
happen
get
for
free.
sure.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for that. Thank you for participating. Okay, I'll open this for you. Yeah. Luckily, you ordered 2 handcuffs. That's why he gets free as well. So in our previous demo, they ordered 1, and 1 person had to stay. Yeah? Okay. Thank you so much for participation. So. Okay. So now let's see what's really under the hood for this. As we said, this is just a proposal to demonstrate the power of SAP Conversational AI as a product. Yeah. So we created a completely custom environment for this demo only. We have the SAP Conversational AI in the CAI platform. And we have a HANA database which stores all the purchase orders, etc., etc. And the Fiori Launchpad, which you guys were able to see, that actually just highlights the process that goes on in the background. Yeah. I will just now tell you how does this thing all work. Okay. I hope I have enough time to show you the demonstration. So. For a chatbot building, not just for SAP CAI as a whole, but in general, there are three main components. Yeah? Intent, entity, and skills. Well, these components are named differently for different products. What is intent actually? As the name suggests, intention of the user. So whatever things a user is telling a chatbot to do. Yeah? Entities are like special highlighted words or keywords which the chatbot notices from an intent. And an intent could be an expression. For example, it was like, I wanted to create a purchase order. And then purchase order could be marked as an entity. Yeah? So that's how things work. So then he doesn't need to say always, I want to create a purchase order. He can also say, hey, let's create a purchase order. Or, hey, I feel like creating a purchase order, something like that. So it has to be a bit robust. So it takes the entity and then it processes on. If it finds the entity, then it's a success. The third thing is skill. So skill actually tells the chatbot that, okay, if you have the correct entity, if you have the correct intent, what to do? How do you respond? So like here chatbot was saying, okay, I will guide you to create a purchase order. And it finally also created a purchase order. These are the skills that we have developed inside SAP CAI, or Conversational AI. Yeah? I will briefly show you how it is all done by creating a very small skill. I hope I'm able to present it. Yeah, okay. So the SAP CAI platform, if you want to log into it, just type cai.tools.sap and press enter. And you can create a trial account completely for free with everything accessible. That's why for any client or any project, if you really want to show the client the power of CAI, you can do it for free without zero investment. Yeah? SAP has made it free for prototypes only, not for production usage, of course. Yeah? Production usage, you have to pay. So this is my profile, and these are the bots that I have created, and this is ProcBot. So you can just simply create a new bot by clicking on this button, and it's very self-directory. Yeah? And if we go into the bot, yeah, these are the intents that I was talking about. So these are all the intents that we have. So let's see one of the intents as show feedback intent. Okay? An intent can have multiple expressions. So these are like expressions which I have given to it. And also one thing, oh, I'm sorry, but, oh, okay. Yeah, also one other thing to add is the CAI supports internationalization. It supports all humanly known languages. Yeah? So you can very easily add a language here. But we have just created English for our prototype. So from each expressions, you can actually mark or highlight them as an entity. So here, this is a show feedback entity. It's a custom entity that I have created myself. You can create it as well. Yeah? So once you have created the intent and the entity, you can go to the build section to create a skill for this entity. Yeah? So I will create, let's say, a show feedback skill. So I say, click at skill. Yep, it's available. I'll just drag it a bit here so that you can see it. We go inside a skill. A skill needs a trigger, so it needs to know when to execute, right? So we have created an intent called show feedback intent, which I just showed you. So we say that, okay, if show feedback intent is present, or if show feedback entity is present, 1 minute. Time to discuss this. So for the action, so let's say what we actually showed, and that's also more enterprise-friendly situation, that you will probably call a backend OData service to execute some skills. I have already created an access service. I have the URL with me. Oh. Yeah. So we'll just copy the URL. Okay, and I add a new message group. Call webhook. Paste the URL of the service. And of course, I need to give the credentials. I have already saved it as a template here. And I save. Okay. And once this is all done, we train our bot. So this training bot can be made automatically. So every time you do something, it gets automatically trained. But this one is manual because this is a very heavy bot, and I have created a huge lot of skills in it. We only demonstrated partially. Yeah? So, and while it's trained, your bot is ready. You can actually test it here. This is a test bot platform. And let's say if I want to write, what was the expression that we have given for the intent? That was, I think, what do. So you can also, there's a debugger option as well. So this is the output that it is supposed to give. So currently we have not given any feedback. So there is basically zero. No one thinks anything of us. But we have a feedback skill enabled in this chatbot. So if you really want to give some feedback, you can actually give a feedback by saying, I want to give a feedback. So we can just see, Alexa, start progbot. Sorry, it will start again. Oh. Yeah, this is also Echo Dot, one of the most cheapest device that we have. So we have a bit of limitation, but I can also show you here. So let's say I just try, I want to give feedback. So please give your feedback, and you can see in the debugger section which skill is getting triggered for this kind of an intent. Yeah. If there's a fallback, then it will be showing fallback. Yeah? So let's say it's good, bad, or excellent. Let's say I hope it's not bad experience for anyone. It's good? Okay. Not excellent? Come on. Okay, good. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, so now it has been run. So now if you again test the show feedback scale, so 0 people think the presentation was great, 1 people thought the presentation was mediocre, good, and 0 people think it was not really good. So this is how it actually works. And this chatbot would be switched on. So in the later point of time, if you get some time, you can also provide feedback just by saying, I want to give a feedback. And you can give your feedback as good, bad, or good, excellent, or bad. Okay. This is something that, we wanted to show. This was also something that we are now currently exploring very deeply into it. And this has got very good potential. Yeah? And so CAI platform can connect not just to the latest SAP technology, not just to S4 HANA environment. It can connect to an ECC environment. It can connect to even a non-SAP environment. So it has got a huge possibilities. You can connect it anywhere and everywhere and just use it. It's very fun to do as well. And most of the skills are done even without coding, without a single line of coding. With coding, it's much better, of course. But yeah, without coding. And one more thing is that for this product, SAP has also purchased a proprietary NLP or natural language processor engine. So that actually helps it to understand our natural language much better, more efficiently. Yeah. So yeah, this was our glimpse into CAI, and I hope that you were interested and everyone would be going to the caitools.sap.com and try out something on your own. Yeah. So last part is for questions and answers. Yeah. We're open for questions now.
You have a mic?
Yes, sure. Oh, sorry, we have a...
Yeah.
Okay, maybe, yeah. Could you please pass? I think it's switched on, right? Is it switched on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I don't want to, is it on?
I don't think it's switched on. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but it's streaming, so I thought it turns on.
It's a red button at the bottom.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
So if I don't want to use Alexa with that scenario,
Yes.
which options do I have?
Yes are an English progressive.
Sorry, don't say Alexa. I'm sorry, don't say Alexa. She gets good question. Yeah.
Maybe you can show it in the system.
No, I cannot. No.
Sorry, Alexa.
But yeah, it's okay. So I get your question. It's a very good question actually, because we also got the same question from our MDs whom we demonstrated it to. So yeah, Alexa was just used to make this a bit more cooler. Okay, I hope it did its purpose. But yeah, you don't really need an Alexa interface. As I said, it can be connected to any interface. So you can have it with Fiori Launchpad, for example, if you just want to use it in SAP domain. So, and what SAP is also planning in the future, by November, with Fiori 3.0, you must all be hearing about that quite lately. So the new Fiori Launchpad is going to have a Copilot button at the top or the bottom. So by clicking on it, you'll have a chatbot, just like the test bot that I showed you. You will have that open, and in the backend, it will be powered by CAI. So Copilot product is a new product, was an old product from SAP, sorry, as a chatbot. They are migrating it inside SAP Conversational AI. So CAI would be the one and only uniform hub where you can build chatbots in any technology and integrate it in SAP CAI platform. And you make it available in Alexa or in Fiori Launchpad as you want it. It doesn't always have to be a speech to text. It can be text to text as well. Just like the testing when I was just showing it to you.
But also not just S4HANA, but multiple
everything,
systems. Huh?
yeah.
So
With
Ariba,
CRM, Ariba, everything. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah, okay, great. Any more questions? Yeah, maybe you can.
Hey, thank you so much for presenting the conversational AI.
Our pleasure.
So my question is, are there any predefined skills or entities already in CIA, or do I have to define everything on my own?
That's a very good question as well. At this moment, there are only feedback as well as some small talk skills and weather and time report skills already by default available. But as I said, since SAP is migrating their whole Copilot skills inside the CAI, so standard SAP skills will be available soon as well. Yeah, out of the box. But again, it's something that's going to happen, not available immediately. Yeah.
but also if somebody else build a bot, then you can fork the bot and you get this functionality, and you can extend it if you want.
Yeah. Next question? Yeah, maybe.
This is kind of like a suggestion. First of all, congratulations, because behind that there's a lot of effort. We all know that. And it's the first time I see a demo testing of such an interface, talking interface. And what I realized right now was the fact that we kind of have the impulse as humans to interrupt when somebody's talking and probably didn't get the idea, or saying some things that are not needed. We kind of have this need to break this sentence, break this person, and define the idea already, or So just from the interactions point of view, perhaps include some of those possibilities to interrupt the audio and continue with the process.
Yeah, that's very much available. One thing is that the interruption part, since you marked it, is because of this device, unfortunately. So Echo Dot, she's a very moody lady, yeah? She doesn't allow anyone to speak when she's speaking. But if you test it in ASK console, so that's Alexa skill set console, that's where we first develop and test our skills. There you can actually interrupt as well, so it works absolutely fine. But with this device, it doesn't work. And another thing is as I said, sometimes it could be a bit frustrating that it's giving out all the process every time. But this is the guided mode, because the people whom we invited have never tried ProcBot before. So this was to show that it can work completely on its own, or they don't need any extra training from us or any support from us. But as an expert, when you're using it as an expert, you won't get all the suggestions every time. It will happen almost in less than a minute. I think this one took 5 to 6 minutes, the full process. But as an expert, when you know the contract, or like if you even don't know the contract, you give some filters, you get the exact suppliers, and wow, it's could be less than a minute. Yeah.
Also nice to know that.
Yeah. Thanks. Yes. Yeah. Maybe we transfer.
No, I just want to ask, can he demonstrate it in less than a minute?
No, we don't have the expert one built here. This is the guided mode because we have it for volunteers from the audience. We wanted to pick up anyone from the volunteers. So yeah, we really didn't expect that we will do it. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Could you pass the mic?
1 minute. I think he has it first. Yeah.
I have seen there some foreign languages, and does it have automatic translation service, or should you define it yourself there?
Yeah, not yet. We have to define it as a CSV. So just like if you're equipped with Fury or UI5 application development, we have I-18 and internationalization files. So we actually define the language according to the labels. So here you don't need to give labels, but you have to define the intents. So each intent can be downloaded as a CSV file, and that's a very simple format they give, just the text, comma, the language code. So just like that, now you have to do it manually and upload it again, and then you have your Dutch scale or German scale or whatever international language you want to put. Currently, it's completely manual. But I think they will provide a translation hub for this as well. I think so. Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
You have shown us that with short steps with configuration, you have kind of the possibility for a basic chatbot. Yeah. But in the demo with the purchase order, I would suspect there has to be some kind of still coding, business logic, database logic. And I'm curious to know about how does that work technically?
Yeah, so this would be the actual platform for this prototype. So we only use access services because it was completely based in the cloud. So inside the HANA-DB, we are fetching all the purchase order information or sending the purchase order information to the database via access services, which we have custom built. And that's what it's just reflected on the Fury Launchpad for the audience to understand what's going on. Yeah? In the original enterprise scenario, this part would not be actually custom made. So SAP themselves are going to provide some standard OData services as well, which you can actually consume in your skills, and this part would be handled by SAP themselves. You can also do it custom. You can extend a standard just like other SAP applications. You can extend a standard. You can make your custom one as well, but they're trying to make this as much out of the box as possible. Yeah.
And as I said, it's currently being implemented at a client, so at the moment it's not ready to demo, but in the maybe next sit, we can show the connection with an S4 system as well.
Yeah.
This is just to demonstrate how this works.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, then thanks a lot. You've been a really lovely audience, and special thanks to our volunteers. Someone at least picked up their hands. I was really afraid of that. And thank you very much.
I was trying to fool this as well.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Ist das Mikro an? Ja, it is. Good. Thanks. That was a nice intro. Very entertaining.
Difficult to
Come on, Vitaly, you can do it. Vitaly, do you want to include some handcuffs in? Maybe you need that.
Do you have something, mouth blinding for Oliver?
You can use the ice blindfold.
Yeah. Next is Vitaly. Sometimes he needs band around his mouth. Vitaly is from Poland, actually from Ukraine,
yes.
And he's going to tell us a little bit about database goes multimodal or multimodal goes database. What was your title?
Databases go multimodal.
Yep. And he's trying to figure out.
Yes, technical issues.
Yes. Microphone?
Do I need to?
Yes, a microphone.
Oh.
Okay, so while they are looking for a microphone, just a quick information. So it was, what, 2012 when Amazon bought.
Put it on.
Yeah, I'm not presenting yet.
Doesn't matter.
When Amazon acquired Polish startup in Gdańsk called Iwona, and I couldn't understand why Amazon would need, text-to-speech startup. And then once they started shipping Echo and Alexa, it became obvious. So this development center still exists in Poland, and these are the guys who are developing all the language skills for. Okay, just give me a sec. No. Do you hear me well? Yeah. Okay. So let's try it out. Let's move on. First, quick question. How many of you recognize this font, which has nothing in common with databases, but anyone recognizes this font? So this is a font that is called 72. So those of you who are working with Fiori 3.0 should immediately recognize, because this is a font that has been developed by SAP to be used in Fiori 3.0. And how many of you know why this font is called 72? Because this was the year when SAP was established. Exactly. So for this great knowledge of SAP history, you are getting this developer socks from SAP. Okay, so let me start with a quick introduction. Actually, Oliver did part of that for me already. My name is Vitaly Rudnicki, or Vitaly Rudnicki, whatever you want to pronounce it. But usually I go by my Twitter handle, which is a GitHub repo name as well, Sigismundovich. So if you have no idea what to talk about, just discuss why Sigismundovich, and this is a good icebreaker for us to start talking. I'm one of, actually, I am SAP employee, as you can guess. And I'm one of SAP developer advocates. If you never heard about any developer advocates at SAP before, no surprise, this is our official name since last week. So there are 10 of us working globally at SAP, and we are part of SAP SAP Community and Developer Relations organization, which is a part of Office of CTO of SAP. In my case, I'm looking at all things data. And if you are interested, actually last week we published the new page for our data management for developers. So if you have any feedback about this web page, then just come and talk to me. There are many more things that I'm sharing with Oliver besides just being SAP employee. I used to be SAP mentor as well, but differently than Oliver, I'm based in Poland, not in Germany. How many of you know where Wrocław is? Okay, so it's improving year after year. And similarly, like Oliver, I'm one of SAP Inside Track organizers. It's just that I'm organizing this in Wrocław. Here are my pictures with our speakers from this and previous year. And this is the moment for me to do a little bit of advertisement of our SAP Inside Track in Wrocław. It's only 3 hours driving from Berlin. We have direct train now going to Wrocław as well. So if you need anyone to convince you, then I would suggest actually these 2 gentlemen who are present here to ask about their experience. And I believe they will be glad to share. So you are welcome. Now to the point. As I mentioned, I am a SAP employee, therefore I need to start with the usual SAP disclaimer. Everyone read? Everyone understood? Great. Okay, so how did we get here? Why are we talking about multimodal databases? So how many of you remember SAP running pre-relational database era? So how many of you remember running SAP on navigational database, hierarchical one? Exactly, R2. So now I know 2 guys in the world who I met who've seen it. But luckily for the rest of us, there was relational model developed in the mid of 1970s, which gave the birth to SQL programming language that we all use and love till these days. And this is where relational databases started by the end of 1970s, right? So it was DB2 by IBM first in 1979, and then another company with a red logo that started another popular, in some areas, relational database in 1980. 1980s is as well the huge improvement in personal computers, and this is where desktop-based RDBMSs made it even more popular, right? So even my wife, who studied economy, she knows Microsoft Excel and she knows what SQL is, thanks to all these desktop-based RDBMSs. 1990s is another important milestone because of the whole shift from client-server architecture to from mainframes to client-server architecture. This is where SAP actually was one of the companies heading this revolution on the market, and this is where these relational databases became even more popular because we had to migrate from mainframes with these hierarchical databases to more modern architectures. 1990s as well, for those of you developers, brought another interesting concept, object-oriented programming, which is supposed to be, solution to all the software problems the very same way as functional programming is the solution these days. But there was one issue that it's really difficult to match objects into relations. Sorry, I haven't recognized that, probably those of you in the back seat probably see only from half screen up, right? And you don't see half screen down. Okay, so that's why we needed not only relational databases, but as well to satisfy this object-oriented programming, as well object-oriented database management programming. But this is where things really started to be interesting. So how many of you remember Y2K? And this is kind of like just by looking at hair, I can guess, or lack of hair, I can guess who recognizes this and who doesn't, right? So Y2K is the famous problem of year 2000. And this is where if you would be living in the US and you would buy your laptop, you would get this sticker on your laptop. Unfortunately, we don't have this for stickers here today. Remember to turn off your laptop on December 31st, 1999. Why? Because most of the applications were written in 1970s, in 1980s, with the assumption that 2 digits year representation will be enough for the rest of the life of this software, right? Actually, there were people who made quite some money on that, selling some guidebooks, how to survive, and or selling newspapers that the doomsday is coming on January 1st. But why I'm mentioning this? Because it was another moment when this whole movement from mainframes to new architectures happened. Because in mainframes, in COBOL, most of the applications were written, just having this 2-digit representation for the year. But year 2000, or the beginning of 2000s, was actually a beginning of new millennia. It was really, really, really fun time. This is where I pretty much joined the job market. So how many of you remember 1 terabyte club? So this was a lead group of SAP customers whose systems were mind-blowing, and they were more than 1 terabyte size. The biggest at that time, I believe, was Nestle, and at that time they had BW system that was 7 terabytes of data. Again, it was mind-blowing as far as I remember. But now, these days, it sounds like it was tera years ago, right? Because with the rise of web, we came to the new requirement. We came to the requirements of storing petabytes of data. So how many of you have seen 1 petabyte of data? No one. okay, I had to experience this 1 petabyte of data. I used to work at HP in Silicon Valley at that time, and we had our own not SAP-based data warehouse in Cupertino office there in California, and then the whole IT was moving to Austin, to Texas. And basically, they were moving this data warehouse from the data center that was in our office to Austin. And the whole day, it was like an earthquake, right? So if you've been to Silicon Valley, you know that this is earthquake zone. So you would think that this is just a regular shaking, but actually it was trucks after trucks coming and shifting and moving hardware that was storing this 1 petabyte of data. So 1 petabyte of data is really earth-shaking, believe me. But even more, with the introduction of the mobile phones, we needed to rethink the way we are storing and processing data once again. I still remember this year 2007 when the friend of mine, colleague of mine in HP in Cupertino, who was a huge fan of Apple, told me about the release of iPhone. I had no idea why would it be revolutionary. According to this guy, and he proved me to be wrong once again, it was, right? So why do we talk about mobile while it changed? Why did it change the way we worked, even with enterprise system? Is because this is the one that introduced so-called consumerization of IT, right? Because before that, it was very often, I used to be data warehouse BW consultant myself, right? We would write the query, and then you go for coffee. You come back after 20 minutes. Okay, the query is still not finished, so you go for coffee once again. And this is how I got coffee addicted, right? Just by working with BW. Now, how many of you can look or wait for more than 3 seconds? Yeah? Even Alexa cannot stand, you're impatient, right? Big concept. Well, how many of you have heard about that? Okay, just a few of you, but basically NoSQL is the way to process not only SQL. So it is not NoSQL anymore. It's not only SQL data, because to satisfy this needs to store petabytes of data and process this and get the results in seconds. We needed this NoSQL only databases, right? And then 2010 started, and this is even more funny time with the rise of IoT, Internet of Things, because now IoT put yet another requirements for data management, for data processing. Now we are talking about processing data on the move, right? So this is processing streaming data. And by the way, if you haven't heard about NoSQL before, this is the way how this term was coined, right? So you would write your CV. Most of you shake your hand. You have no idea what SQL is, and this is how NoSQL was born. Seriously, though, this NoSQL revolution gave the explosion of different data vendors and data management software. So now we have relational DOM, no relational DOM. We have graph data. We have memory caches. We have search engines. We have in-memory processing, and so on and so forth, right? So SAP HANA actually here as well. But before that, you had pretty much like 4 databases, and they were ruling the market. Now you have this whole load of all the different databases on the market, and this is one of the way to represent what is going on the market and to help you to navigate this. What it cost is as well the change in the way some programs are being suggested to be developed to so-called polyglot persistence adoption. So what polyglot persistence is that basically once you are developing your software, now you have all these different data stores that you can or even should use for different kind of data. And guilty as charged, for example, for our own IoT, SAP IoT application enablement data store, for example, we are using 3 different data stores. We are using S3 or Swift as an object store for all the data ingestion, and then we are moving this to Kafka for all the real-time streaming processing, and then we are moving this to HANA for all the aggregation and all the data representation, data querying. So what's next? Where are we moving? And this is where some of the guys are now talking about these multi-model databases. Why? Because basically it's easy to do the whiteboard where you put 3 different data stores, Swift, Kafka, sorry, not Kafka, Cassandra, supposed to be Cassandra, and then HANA. But now you as a developer, you need to interface with all the 3 different systems. You need to know all 3 different APIs, 3 different SQL syntaxes, or maybe no SQL at all. So what are multimodal databases? These are the ones that can serve all these different kind of data, but with one integrated engine. And there are true multimodal databases, so those that were built ground up with this assumption. And then there are all the general purpose databases that got this multimodal option included now. So if we are talking about the native multimodal, then there are 4 major players on the market. And guess what? I'm going to talk about OrientDB. So how many of you have heard about OrientDB before? Okay, 3 of you. Everyone else, are you working in SAP space by any chance? Because OrientDB is now one of the SAP databases. We accidentally acquired this company. It happened. Actually, we were buying Calidius Cloud as a marketing automation software, sales automation software, and it happened that they owned OrientDB, and therefore we have this now as a part of SAP as well, and that's why I brought some stickers that I'm going to put there as well. Yeah. So OrientDB is an open source, so now it is another open source from SAP, but I can read from your faces, show me something live finally, right? So let's try to do that. I do have this as a Docker image, right? So I have started it already. It would take about 3 minutes, just to download. So obviously I didn't do that. I've done this before, and now I just need to Docker start. That's why I love doing live demos, because there are always issues, and then there are people always laughing. Okay, Docker start B5, Docker log, Docker logs. Just want to make sure that database started. It did, right? So now it should provide me the interface. I just need to know the IP of my Docker machine, because this is older Windows machine. So I need this IP address, and now I can go here and look at the port 2480, right? So now I have this OrientDB database running locally on my machine, and actually the guys who invented or started development of this software, they are from Italy, but yeah, hi there. And that's why if you look into their documentation, you would understand why examples that they are using. Luca owns car. Car has model Ferrari. Car has color red. And indeed, Luca is one of the inventors of this database, and indeed he owns red Ferrari because he's from Italy, right? And but in this case, I didn't download the cars database. Actually, there are some examples available on the web. And I don't own red Ferrari, but I do own an account on Untapped. If you don't know this social network, this is about beer lovers. And this is why I checked in 6 beers last night. So I downloaded so-called OpenBeerDB already. And let me just connect to this database, right? So as I mentioned, this OrientDB was the very first actually one that started this multi-model development. And if we look into the data that we have in there, so easiest way will be to look at schema. And everyone who is familiar with NoSQL, the very first question would be, hold on. The whole promise of NoSQL is that there is no schema in the database, right? Actually, this is kind of like schemaless, semi-schema, and schema-full database, which means that you can enforce, like in regular relational database, full schema, or you can start with the empty project and add any data, any attributes of any data types in there. So in this case, for example, we have brewery, meaning that I can select data from this brewery class. And again, you see the table. And then again, those of you NoSQL purists would start shouting just like, what do you mean table representation of no structured data? Well, we humans still read data in tabular way. But if you look at the way this data is being stored underneath, meaning if we look at the raw data, it is actually JSON semi-structured data, right? But these guys, they went a step further, comparing, for example, to MongoDB, and they allowed this data to be connected as well. So which means that one document can store a link to another document. And that's why, actually, we can as well explore these connections in very graph way, right? So if I would look where country equal Germany, but first I need to remove the output. So, okay, I don't know all the German breweries yet, so it would be easier for me to go with Poland. Oops, only 6 breweries. But there is an explanation to this. This database, it is open database, but it stopped being developed in 2010. Since then, Poland has been facing, explosion of all the mini breweries as well. But for the moment here, we still have only 6. But what we can do right now is that we can look, for example, at Varka, and we can start exploring in very graph way that Varka has a beer that is called Varka Strong, and this Varka Strong, it has a style, American style lager, right? So you've seen that we looked at this data in relational way, we looked at them as a document, and now we are looking at them as the explorable graph connected data. Okay, so let me move back. So if any one of you would like to try it out, as I mentioned, there will be stickers right there. It is open source, so you can easily just download and run this in your Docker container. So it is as well object-oriented. It supports geospatial data, and you've seen that it has this SQL interface, right? So why, once again, NoSQL? And we are talking about the SQL interface because, again, we went through this movement from NoSQL, where it meant we have no SQL at all, to NoSQL, I do know SQL, to this NoSQL movement where like we don't want SQL anymore, then not only SQL, and now just like actually SQL is the only data manipulation language I can speak. So no, it is SQL, right? So talking about the SQL interface, and this is where I promised Oliver that this presentation will be non-SAP, but I do need some other databases to have a little bit of demo as well, and this is why I brought SAP HANA, which in most of the minds is usual relational database. Okay, it is in memory, it is column organized, but it is still relational database. So how many of you have worked with SAP HANA before? Okay, so those of you who didn't raise your hands, the good news, you can try SAP HANA by yourself or for yourself as well. Actually, it is the database that was classified as the leader in so-called translytical data platforms. How many of you have heard about translytical before today? I can play smart, huh? So it is the winning translytical database, and what translytical database means is that you combine transactional and analytical workload in one engine, right? That's why we are promising real-time enterprise or real-time intelligent enterprise right now, but real-time enterprise. But one of the important things here is that it supports advanced analytics, and advanced analytics means that basically it supports as well non-trivial and non-relational data within the database as well. The thing that I mentioned is that you can use this HANA Express edition, and HANA Express edition is a free one that you can download and use even in production up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, with one caveat: there is no enterprise support for the free edition, right? So once again, I hear you are saying, show us some live demo. So for this live demo, I'm going to use, as I mentioned, this, not this one, this HANA Express that in my case, my laptop is not powerful enough, but I do have free HANA Express on Google Cloud Platform. And if you haven't used Google Cloud Platform yet, the good news is that if you create this developer account there, they will give you $300 to play with. And then if you remember to stop HANA Express after you are using that, so they are not calculating this as a usage time when you are not using that, then it was enough for 8 months for me just to run this database for free. And in this case, my session has expired, obviously. But let's have a look how HANA supports this multimodal option, right? So I did preload some data in there. And let us start with some very relational tables. So there are 2 relational tables from the Marvel dataset. I found this at some university website. Unfortunately, not all of this data is clean enough, but basically what it has is that it has the nodes. Oops. So it has this nodes relational table, and nodes relational table just describes all the superheroes that are existing in Marvel universe. So how many Marvel superheroes do you know? More or less. 1? 7? How many of them do you think are there? How many? Come on. 70? 250? Okay, let's do the count on this table. 6,200. And not all of them are even there. Because I don't know if you know, for example, the most famous German superheroes from Marvel Universe. Anyone? Okay, I need to look into my... so the most famous is the Nightcrawler. So this is an X-Men, and he is German. Yeah, so he is #1. But because we are in Berlin, who is the most one and only Marvel superhero who was born in Berlin? I learned this yesterday. Katrina Van Horn, by the nickname Mankiller. And she was born in Berlin, and as far as I could check on this fun page, she is the one and only who was born in Berlin, right? So we have these Marvel node superheroes, but then we have as well the table that is called edges, and these edges, they show who of these superheroes appeared in which movie or in which comic. And therefore now, if they appeared in the same comic book or in the same movie, we can say that these 2 superheroes are connected. Basically, they are like the Facebook of Marvel superheroes, right? This is the social network. And just because we have these nodes and we have this connection, so now HANA will allow you to connect this into something that is called, surprise, surprise, graph workspace. And this graph workspace actually now would allow you to see all the same data, but in the graph way, right? So this is the subset of the social network of the Marvel superheroes. And now if we want to know, for example, if our man killer by the name Katrina from Berlin ever met another famous German superhero, Nightcrawler, we can run this, so this short path graph algorithm. Now, if you would try to do this in SQL on these relational tables, you can imagine what kind of SQL you would need to write. But now with the graph workspace, you can run this native graph algorithms on top of relational data, and immediately we know that man killer never met Nightcrawler, but they know Sandman, who is the guy in between. Okay, another example would be processing semi-structured data. Sorry, I ran out of time. Can I have 3 more minutes? I don't know if I was given equal opportunity comparing to the previous guys, but there was a question from one of our SAP mentors on the Twitter, just like, hey, but can HANA process JSON data, right? So JSON is semi-structured data. And in this case, it was Google Takeout. So how many of you are familiar with this company by the name Google? Okay, quite a few of you. For everyone else, if you don't know that, they know about you. The reason they know about you is because you are using their product. And as you know, with the introduction of GDPR and RODO, they now need to share all the information they know about you. Actually, the very same way SAP needs to share information that we have about you. So if you go to your SAP people account, you can go to privacy settings and you can download everything that SAP has about you, right? The very same way, there is a service that is called Google Takeout, and you go there and you can download all the information that Google has about you. And this is the one that I actually downloaded, that is called Locations. And these locations I downloaded yesterday. So I put it somewhere, work, spatial, takeout, location history. Okay. So this is our location history data. If we look at that, so this is the way Google would share your location history with you, right? In JSON format. So obviously everyone right now understands JSON format, understands Unix timestamps, and understands how latitude and longitude works, and so on and so forth. But basically I loaded this data already into HANA. And what I've done is that I created some location history data out of that, basically by parsing this JSON and as well doing some recalculations, like, for example, what timestamp, how timestamp should be represented. And then there are different things that we can do with this data, but one that I was working on till 1 a.m. last night is can we reproduce the route based on this data. So let me just go to SQL and then make sure that we have the right schema. We do. And yesterday was August 30th, right? August 30 till August 30. So basically what we've done right now is that I took all these points from location history for 1 day, for yesterday, and then I concatenated them into this geospatial data that is called line string. So basically it is a line that is ordered by timestamp. And now, unfortunately, HANA doesn't have JSON, geo data visualization anymore, but we can use some external services for that, right? Pabam. So you can see yesterday I started from Wrocław. I stopped by Javor to pick up my daughter who wanted to go to Berlin as well. So they are doing some shopping with my wife right now. And then we were driving to the borderline. This is, as you can see, it is not that I was flying straight. It's just that data roaming kicked in, right? And I didn't have it on. So I was driving regular highway, no worries. And then about here, I realized that data roaming is off, so I turned it on. And then we arrived to Berlin. Bam, 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 bam. So this is where my hotel is, here. close to Zoo Berlin. And then obviously yesterday I was coming for Stammtisch, so taking a bus, coming here for Stammtisch, then trying to find it out. That's why you can see this zigzag here, because I missed the restaurant, and then just going all the way back to my hotel, and actually departing bus one stop further just to have a little bit of walk and to think about the demo for today, right? So the very last thing is that, as I mentioned, there is no geospatial data visualization in HANA, so I tried to build my own. And this is the one that I am connected here right now. This is the last demo, so no worries.
Another demo, you said 3 minutes.
Oh, I said 3 demos. Yes, PA. So let me just run my own visualization. So this data is coming from HANA. This is the shape of all the continents. Oops, sorry. Wrong way. Let me run it in one line. So this is the result of SQL query visualizing geospatial data for you. Unfortunately, it is not very flexible and maybe not very readable, and it is quite coarse, but you can visualize geospatial data from SAP this way. And with this optimistic demo, I would like to thank you for your attention. Sorry, Oliver, for taking over time, but I have an excuse, sorry, not excuse, but a little bit thank you, not for you, but for your little one. Aww. So you know that Oliver is the new father.
Yes.
For the 3rd time.
Yes.
But still.
That's not new.
Sorry, it was in Google, right? So
yeah? Okay.
This newborn will get a teddy bear.
That's cute, thank you.
From SAP.
Okay. Thanks, Vitaly, for going over time.
As always.
If you have questions for Vitaly, please ask them while having a maybe 15-minute break instead of a 30-minute break. That's, of course, not Vitaly's fault, but also we started late.
Right.
So let's have a quick break. Afterwards, it's Karina and Nina doing the fraud prevention with blockchain and HANA procurement. But now let's have a 50-minute break. Right. Enjoy. Thanks, Vitaly. Minutes, you said.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm also a SAP.
Sure.
This thing, can we use it productively in the cloud platform?
So for the moment.
Oh, by the way, there's a sticker table.
Maybe I should.
I forgot to mention there's a sticker table because I see the stickers.
So basically,
it's over there at the coffee machine.
Since last month,
grab stickers.
Our price list, but for the moment, it is still primarily being used for existing customers who are on-premise customers.
Okay.
And the thing that we are focusing on as SAP, they're part of the HANA product team right now, but they still kind of like as an independent.
Okay, so but if I go to the account, I would be able to subscribe to this.
So it is not available on cloud platform yet.
Okay.
Because it is not kind of like a priority for the moment.
Okay. So it's HANA DB still.
So it is HANA DB, but if you watched Sapphire keynote by Hasso, and if you saw SAP HANA Cloud Services, you would see there is a little box that is called Document Service, and this is where OrientDB is going to be
Document Service
used.
So is your answer for
Document Service open text is building the Document Service for.
But this will be kind of like as a part of this HANA Cloud Services.
Okay, but not the Document Service, because the new Cloud Doc Service is different.
Yeah. This Document Service is confusing because document basically here means JSON, right? So
yeah,
it is
but
semi-structured.
there is a SAP Document Service.
Yeah, this is